Hello and welcome back everybody. It's Jackie and I've got some new journals to share with you. There are three. I will be doing separate videos for them. It's late in the afternoon now and the light's going already. So hopefully this is going to turn out well enough for you. So this first one is 5.5 by 8 or just over 8. It's fabric on both sides with cardstock in the middle. It's a sort of tapestry fabric, which is quite nice, and there's a bit of lace sewn on around here. This embellishment I was gifted by Kathleen Sundby some time ago now. Excuse me. So just use that on the side there, and it's tied with seam binding, so it's a fairly chunky journal. Just open it out for you so you can see what it looks like. See where I've sewn it in here using a 5-hole pamphlet stitch and some wax linen thread. And this is a Mrs. Cog image on the front here. So inside it's very eclectic, similar to my TN style ones, maybe a little bit more writing space. So on this front, or in this front pocket, there's a vintage envelope from 1924. It's French and there is a letter in there. No idea what it says. If you speak French, hopefully it's all above board, so to speak. And this is a poem backed onto some vintage ledger. And this is a photograph, I think, from the 1930s or 40s, just pinned onto there. And then on this side, I didn't really want to cover that up. I quite liked the way that all looked, but there's a vintage computer card and this little card, French card. Is there a date on there? 1941. I'm not sure what that says, but it looks as if it's some kind of travel, maybe. No idea really. And then on this side, I've done a vellum pocket so that you can still read about this lady who's quite interesting here. I've got a vintage book page, My Daughter Celia, the story of a girl who had everything money could buy. I don't know if, I can't remember at the moment whether I put everything, the whole of this story in the book, but certainly the first part. And then I've got a scrappy tag and another Mrs. Cog image, and that's just backed onto tea-dyed paper. It's a little butterfly charm here. I found this colourway quite challenging for me. It's a little bit out of my comfort zone. But I do quite like the way it all ended up, so hopefully you'll like it too. It's another scrappy pocket, and in there there's vintage paper really from an old French notebook. This is a journal card made from an illustration, and this is a little girl and a postcard from 1918. In this pocket, this is just made from a cutout from a book. Got some more vintage note paper. Tried to put bits in that you can write on, and an envelope with a postcard in it. The postcard I've just decorated with some modelling paste and a little tab there. That just fit in there. Just have that way around. So you can see the layers showing through. Here we've got some decoupage, a little bit of collage and some stenciling. In this lace pocket I've added a dangle with a flower fairy image. This is part of a French document. and this is a page from a French magazine. And I just wanted that little bit of orange to show through because it picks up the colours in the cover there. This is a sticker and a Tracy Fox label. I think that's a Tracy Fox label. Vintage ledger page. Oops. This is just a little sample. So some lace, some sari silk, some vintage fabric there, a little bit of paper ephemera and a little bit of vintage lace. That's from a collar. So that's on there. This is Flower Fairy book. This is just wrapped around the page, and it's just a little double page from one of those Observer, I think it's Garden Flowers that's come from. There's lace here with a little heart dangle. This is a set of 3 tags. There is a eyelet and they do turn a little bit. So they're just layered up, tea-dyed paper. This is a library card, so there's nothing on the back of that. This is from an old newsagents. Here we've got a bit more of that story, I think. Maybe it's the end of the story. I think it is. I put the whole story in, I remember now. Another library card and just a snippet of vintage document. Just want the layers to show through there so you can see a little bit of everything. This is from Gordon Benefield books, deer in the background. Edged this page. There's another wraparound piece here. This time from the Flower Fairies book. And that's round a vintage French ledger page. There's a quote at the top. This is a pocket made from an origami envelope. So there's a little card in there, vintage card. To Marie from Alice and Joe. And when I was doing this journal, I was watching Carol from Oak House Journals, showing us how she made her origami envelopes. So that's what this is, and there's a few little bits in there. And you need to fold those 2 sides in. This folds up and this folds down, and then you just tuck that in there, or you can do it the other way around. I'll show you once again. So if you buy this journal, you might need to know. So it should fold into place. So we go that way. So we fold all the pages in, fold that down, and then this up into there and this into there. So that all tucks away. I suppose it's a nod to winter with this journal. It's not a Christmas journal, but there is a little nod to winter. This is another vintage document. Pretty postcode. This journal is called Madeleine, and this is Madeleine, and this is a vintage playing card. Here I've got a decorated glassine envelope and an envelope that wraps around the page. There's nothing in the envelope, but in this one there are some bits and pieces, just some scraps. Another card, a little scrap of ledger, and the Tim Holtz film strip in there. And this is cut from a vintage calendar. It's not a vintage calendar, it's a calendar with lots of vintage illustrations in it. Another floating pocket here with an original cabinet card in it. Just kept that simple. It's made from an old book page or several old book pages. The badges, another sticker. another quote here. It's a vintage document from 1932 and a tag that I've put together. This is just a piece of vintage map, just quite thin but quite nice paper, and flower dangle. A bit more of that stenciling. This is a double pocket. Got a scrappy journal card in the back, and then in the front there's a similar, using an old vintage photograph, and another dangle down there. A bit more ruffle. In this pocket there's a document, French one this time, from 1946. Another tag made from an Edith Holden page. And an old postcard, a bit of lace on it. It's from 1950. In this one I have got some more scraps from that vintage ledger. A postcard from, I think that's 1925. I liked the way the stamp matched. And then there's a small document from 1919. This is some fussy cutting that I've stuck on there, and this is a vintage card. It's I cut it down so I hadn't got the whole of the it's sort of folded out, and the part of it wasn't great, so I've just put a bit of piano paper on there, vintage piano paper, just to give you more writing space on that. So the colours were pretty. And then we're at the back, and in the back pocket I've got another tag and another sort of scrappy journal card. So that's Madeleine, a journal that will be for sale in the Etsy shop, and hopefully you like her. Thank you anyway for watching, and I'll speak to you all again soon.